in the Americas, the very last place on Earth that archaeologists have ever thought to look.
All right, now I want to read from this book. It says here, Jose Luis Melgarejo Vivanco. This book is called Totonacapan. This is found in the Institute of Anthropology in the University of Veracruz, Mexico, 1943. All right. And yeah, this book is in Spanish, so we're going to translate it. And this is a little bit of credit given to the author of this book by Enrique Juan Palacios, who's the archaeologist of the National Institute of Anthropology and History, Mexico. All right. Saying this is a great book, very informative, very scholarly. We're going to go to a specific part of the book. So before I read that part, I just want to show you how common the word Atlan, A-T-L-A-N, is here in this part of the world. You know, it's a Nahuatl word like this, Zacatlan, Amatlan, Ixhualtlal, Ichicatlan, you see that? Isuatlan, these are all places. Petetlatlan, right? So in Greek, you know how they always add the tis at the end, T-I-S? So Acatlan, tis, Acatlan, tis, Atlantis, right? Miguatlan, Miguatlan, Siguacuatlan, Mextlatlan, Nanacatlan, Tecpatlan, Tlapenatlan, Ayatlan, Mihuatlan, Mihuatlan. That's almost like Manhattan, Mihuatlan, Manhattan. So the Manhattan, the part at the end, Atan, that most probably is in a vocal as well. You know, but just wanted to show you these examples that this word is common over here. It's not Greek, it's not from the other side of the world, is what the author was saying in the previous book. Now on page 185 of this book, I wanted to read this part. It says origins, orígenes. Now I'm going to grab this paragraph, right? I'm going to copy paste. I'm going to go to Google. We're going to try to translate it and read it there. It says, as America rises, there is a sinking world like imperative focus of culture. The northern separation of America and Europe is said to have taken place after the latter part of the Tertiary. Being facts beyond doubt that the valley of the Congo extends under the Atlantic Ocean, and that the aquatic animals of the late Paleozoic correspond between Brazil and Africa. All right, so they're trying to do a connection there, you know, the Pangea thing and all that. But we know, you know, most of these animals originated on this side of the world in America. Even if it was connected, you know, there's still an origin of things. Doesn't matter. Because people like to say Pangea and all this stuff was all connected, but still want to put everything on that part of Pangea, on that side, you know. But no, there's an origin to everything. So let's continue with the book. I'm going to grab this other paragraph and do the same. All right, it says ethnic tests are intended to ignore the characteristics of the genuinely American fauna and flora. Herdlica affirms that it is a town without connections. There are similarities with Asians to such an extent that Mr. Kennedy points to Java as the cultural focus, but the anthropological evidence is not the forcefulness that was given to them. The anthropology of such comparisons starts from false types originated by multiple factors. Race in the old sense loses its value as the landscape in its modern generating conception. All right, so they're trying to figure out basically who these Americans are, right? In the next paragraph, it says, emigrations can be carried out by a whole people. Something difficult, more easily customs, language, religion. What if peoples are not zoological, linguistic, political, or religious? We will have to look for new concepts. If the Asian migration were made in recent times, even among the most retrospective supporters, geology has unfortunately been deceived and in its mistake dragged to nature, which preserves in its bosom the immemorial imprints of an active and thinking life of the misnamed new continent. A misnamed new continent because it's the true old world. All right, let's grab the next paragraph here. It says, during the reign of Alexander, son of Philip in 68, Olympiad Ptolemy, according to Picgion, on this inscription had a stone of Brazil, and under a shield and two swords that Lutein in their spoils, the figure of Alexander. So they're saying they found something in Brazil, showing something that shows like Alexander the Great, while a helmet. So while the helmet, and get the next paragraph, it showed a passage from Icada. Mr. Carlos Lascurian, they mean from the Iliad, all right, from the Iliad. Let me go back. So there's a passage from the Iliad, all right? It's a Greek work, right? Mr. Carlos Lascurian and Soleta claim to have found unique inscriptions in the Sierra del Cofre de Perotti, Brasil de Borg, like Gomara, another historian, Gomara. They show that the radical ATL does not belong to any other. All right, so they're saying ATL. So in Spanish it says that the ATL don't belong to any other symbol other than the Atlantic side or from this part of the world. All right, and when Columbus discovered America, it says, and when Columbus discovered America, there was a city called Atlan in the Gulf of Darien. See, there was a city called Atlan. Just add the TIS at the end. Atlantis. That's what Greeks do. They add the TIS at the end in Latin and Greeks, right? Now I want to read this paragraph. Hopefully it translates it right. If not, I'll try to translate it myself. All right, it says, Schliemann claims to have found under the ruins of Troy a glass with these words, from Kronos, king of Atlantis. Atlantis, right? Atlantis. Kronos was from Atlan, that's in Panama. And it is said that in the Louvre Museum, there is another similar vase found in Tiwanaku, next to Titicaca, that's in Bolivia. One of the pieces from inside the Trojan glass has the head as an ornament of an owl, emblem of Mu. Mu, are we talking about Queen Mu? Let's see if this says Queen Mu over here. Oh, emblema de Mu, emblem of Mu, lechuza, owl, emblem of Mu. Are we talking about Queen Mu of the Maya? It is said that Second Dynasty sent an expedition to search for Atlantis, where his ancestors had come from. They're talking about Egyptians. Let's go to the so cuéntese que sent Segunda Dinastía from the Second Dynasty, sent from the Second Dynasty. He sent an expedition to look for Atlantis, where his ancestors had come from. He's an Egyptian saying his ancestors are from Atlantis, just like Thoth. Remember, Thoth wrote the Emerald Tablets, right? And all these gods are all Westerners. Osiris, Isis, all these, they're all corn deities as well. Corn is an American plant, right? So there was a king, Pharaoh supposedly went to look for his ancestors' home, Atlantis, where they had come from, and there is no lack of interpreter of the Codex Torano who marks the Maya as the first colonizers of the Lower Nile. Who? The Maya. We got another source in Spanish, like telling us the Maya were the ones who colonized the Lower Nile. They were the first to colonize. Now, when we talking about Lower Nile, we talking about the Mississippi. The Mississippi. Who's the Egyptians? Who's Tamarians? The Tamaricans. And just for the doubters right here, it says, y no falta intérprete, the Troano Codex. There's a Troano Codex. This is from the Mayas' own writings that were given to the Spaniards. It says that will point out, que señale a los mayas, that the Mayas, como los primeros colonizadores, as the first colonizers del Bajo Nilo, the Nile, of the Lower Nile. The Mayas were the first. There's nobody that would doubt it. There's nobody that would not point it out. They're saying, if you see the Codex Troano, that they were the first colonizers of the Nile. I'm going to copy the next paragraph, all right, just so we can read that as well. I'm going to put it here. I know this translation sucks a little bit, but we try to fix it if it sounds funny. Now it says, Churchward's interest in studies of the inscriptions and manuscripts of India, China, Tibet, Babylon, the islands of the Mar del Sur and Mayapan, as well as mystical books from Egypt and Greece, led him to conclude that the continent of Mu was the true civilizing focus and that the civilization was Mayan. It was Mayan, really. That whole Mu and Lemuria and all that, that's Mayan. That was Mayans. Remember, they try to make it into a whole mystical lost place and all this. You know, it was really, they found these things in Mexico. I did the video about in the Nagas and how that guy stole the guy's research and created his own story about Lemuria. All right, but really, It was the civilization of the Mayan. The founding of Babylon grants it to the Naga Maya of India. We just came over from reading about Akkadians and Mayans right from the Queen Mu book. This other book is telling us the same thing, right? Who are the Maya Naga, the Naga Maya of India? They founded Babylon and the Nile, right? The lower Nile. They founded Babylon. Who? The Maya. Who colonized who? Who civilized who? The founding of Babylon grants it to the Naga Maya of India and makes a remarkable comparison between Chaldean voices and Nagas of 8. I don't know what that means. The 8th century, maybe, the Nagas, or the 8th century BC. All right, so again, what? The Chaldean, we just got that too from the Queen Mu book. Who were the Chaldeans? We remember Abraham was his father was a Chaldean. Is that a clan of the Maya, ancient Maya-Naga? You see what I'm saying? So another author, more correlation, right? A comparison between Chaldean voices and Nagas of the 8th centuries before Christ with the Maya. George Smith discovered the Gilgamesh in Babylon book containing the legend of the eagle and the serpent, similar to that of the Aztecs. All right, this eagle and the serpent. So that's not just an Aztec thing. So that's found all throughout the Americas and actually all over throughout the world. But it has its origin here in the Americas. That's what he's letting you know. All right, they have the same symbols in these Babylonian books because it was carried over there. All right, by the Maya-Naga.